So if you've seen my last two videos, I have taken this cheap Honda Civic FN2 to 2 track days on its quest to complete every racetrack in the UK in it, and those were Thruxton and Castle Combe. Now there's one thing I was moaning about on those 2 days, and that was the handling of the car. So I've brought myself these, some yellow speed coilovers from Area Motorsport, and they are the track edition ones. And I've also got some shims for the rear to give me some rear camber. So let's get them on the car. So the first thing we're going to do is install this 1 degree camber shim. So to do that we need to take the whole rear hub off, and I'm going to start by removing the rear brakes. So I've got the brakes removed. You see, check the pads. There's loads of friction material left on those after 2 track days, which is good. So they should last a while, hopefully. Right, so to remove the hub, it's these 4 bolts in there, and then we can put the shim in and give us some rear camber. Now you can see this rear brake shield has obviously seen better days, so I don't think I'll put that back on when I reassemble it. So to get these bolts off of here, clever people at Honda made these holes in the hub there. So I've put the socket on, I can get the extension on, and then I can put the ugga on, and should, I think the battery's running out. Yeah, the battery's run out. Anyway, that will pull off there, rather than having to use a spanner or struggle to get in there. And there we go, off it comes. Now I had to give it a couple of taps with a hammer, because obviously it's obviously rusted to the rear axle, and I disconnected the ABS sensor. I was going to try and take it out, but I snapped the bolt and it was well and truly in there. So I left that and just unplugged it on here and threaded the cable through. So I'm going to clean all this up with a wire brush. I am going to replace the rear axle at some point, but it's pretty solid at the minute, so we'll do that when it actually needs doing, and then we'll get this shim installed. Right then, I've cleaned it all up, ready for the shim to go on. I tried to remove the brake shield, but you have to take the whole bearing off, so I just ripped it off where I could. So stop it falling off anyway when we're on track somewhere probably, and then damaging someone else's car. So you can see the shim is wedged, so we're going to put it so the wedge, the fat bit of the wedge is at the bottom, thin bit at the top, like that, and then that will give us some camber on the rear. Now it's only 1 degree, so we're going to start at 1 degree, we'll see how that feels, and if we need to we can always add another one later on. So let's get it reassembled. So that is all put back together. Next job is to take these scabby shock off and the spring, and then fit the coilovers. I probably should have done that before I reassembled, so it might have made it a little bit easier for me, but anyway, let's crack on. So to remove the rear shock, it's just this bolt on here, and I've supported the beam on that side with the jack, because when I take both the bolts out either side, the whole beam's going to drop, and then the spring will be able to come out. And then on the top side here, you need to put an Allen key in here, and then turn this bolt here, and then the whole shock will drop out, and then we'll be able to install the new ones. So I've got this bottom bolt loose now, so if I take that out, I've actually put the jack this side to support it, because I thought it's probably a safer thing to do. If I drop the jack, the whole beam should drop with it. There we go. And then I should be able to get this spring out. There you go, it's loose now anyway. So I probably have to do the other side, and the whole thing better drop out, and I'll be able to pull the spring out. So I've got the last bolt out. Hopefully the whole beam should. So there we go. Perfect. Spring's dropped out, shock's out. Fit the new coilovers. So before I fit the coilovers on the rear, I thought I'd give the rear arches a quick coat of underbody seal, being as all the shocks and that are off, being as the age of the car and that. So while we're waiting for that to dry, we'll have a look at the old shocks and the new shocks. So these are the rear shocks and springs. I'm doing it on the grass because I don't want to scratch them. I haven't really got the surface to put them on. So as the old ones come off, it's very rusty. You see the bush on here as well. That's definitely seen better days. And this is the new one, so it's height adjustable, this one, so you spin the whole shock, and then this is the locking collar on there, so you can adjust the height, And then for the springs again, height adjustable. So the springs are a lot smaller, but then they're a lot stiffer, so they're not going to have as much travel in them. So then this, you just wind I suppose the mount it sits on, and you lock it off, and then that gives you your height adjustment. So I'm not looking for the car to be ridiculously low or anything. I'm quite happy with a standard ride height, so I've wound them up near enough to the top, and again these I've wound those right up as well. So we get it all up, get it together, drop it on the ground, and we'll see what it looks like, and then we can fine tune it once it's all on. So that's the rear shocks and springs installed. So you see I made this reasonably high because I don't want it ridiculously low. The only issue I had was the bush on here was slightly too small, so I had to drill it out slightly to get the shaft through. Other than that, went on nicely. Oh, and I did need a pair of hands to get it all lined up as I jacked it up. So let's get the wheels on and see how it sits. I reckon that's sitting spot on. See, there's not too much of a gap. It's probably a little bit lower than it was before, but that'll do. And we'll move on to the front. So if you watched my first video, you'd have known that I took the struts off before because I had a horrible knock on it. I had to change the top mount. So the first thing we need to do is to remove the scuttle panel so we can access the 3 nuts on the top here. And then we need to take the wheel off so we can get the other 2 bolts off, and then it should all drop out. Okay, now the wheels off and the plastic trim's all off. You can see 1, 2, 3 nuts to remove it from the top. And then under here, these 2 here. And obviously we've got to take these brake lines off and the anti-roll bar drop link off, and then should all be ready to come out. So that's everything undone on the bottom of the strut. As you can see, it's ready to come out. It's just the top that's holding it together. So we get these 3 off and then it's done. So now the old one's off, we can compare the 2. As you can see, the new one is a little bit smaller and it's definitely a little bit lighter as well. Now to adjust the height, it's you spin this thread here into the body and that gives you a height adjustment, and on the top it's also got camber adjustment, which is perfect, so we can get a little bit more camber than we had before. So we'll get them fitted and then we'll get them all set up. So there we have it. It is on. Now I've guessed at the ride height. I've put it a little bit shorter than the stock one, which I took off because I don't expect there to be as much droop when I put the weight of the car on. Expect it to go up as much, so we'll see how it sits when we get the wheel on. I also didn't put the camber bolts back on because on the top here it's got an adjustable mount, so I've pushed it right over at the moment. We'll probably do a proper alignment at some point, but we'll give it maximum camber for now. So let's get the wheels on and see how it sits. So that's it on the ground. If anything, it's a bit too low, but we'll maybe give it a day or so, see if it settles, and then maybe raise it up a bit. And also the wheel looks like it's pointing in a bit on the other side as well, so we'll have to do a alignment as well.
The next day.
Well, it doesn't look any different from yesterday. The gap still looks pretty similar. I mean, is that a myth where the suspension settles or not? Let me know in the comments what you think. So I'm going to do a quick string alignment, a dodgy string alignment, see if we can get it a bit, the wheels pointing in the right direction. I got a string aligner at my house on the drive. It didn't quite work out very well, so I was chatting to Jack and he said he's got some calibrated poles we could use to align it, which he's used to align his BMWs and some Land Rovers in the past. So we've made a box using axle stands and some poles and some string, and then we're going to measure each wheel and adjust them so they're where they need to be. Right, so we've done this wheel. We are 11mm on this side, let it focus, 10.9 on this side edge, so we are about 0.5 mil to a mil towing out, which is what we want. So we'll do the other side, and the rear we can't do anything with the rear because it's fixed on the beam. I have added a shim, but we'll measure that anyway and then we'll go from there. Right, so we're all done. We got about 1 mil toe out in the front and about 2 mil toe in at the rear. We can't adjust the rear, so I might have to get some shims and we'll have another play at that, maybe have some more camber at the rear. So we'll take it for a drive, see what it feels like. So I've been driving the car for a few days now and it feels like it is on rails. It is amazing. It's so much different to the worn out old suspension. Even on the cheap budget tyres I've put back on the car, so I'm saving the Nankangs for the track. So the next thing to do is obviously take it on a track and see what it's like on track. So that should be the next video. Thanks for watching and make sure you subscribe.